Hey guys, what's going on? Tats Deej here. Welcome back to another episode of Pro Wrestling Straight Shooter. If you're joining me for the first time, thank you. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of the show. Discuss the topic with me. If you're coming back and watching me again, thank you guys as always. I love you for supporting me and for supporting what I do here on YouTube. I'm going to jump right in with today's topic. I want to talk about the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast with Triple H. And I want to say, for starters, it's nice to see Stone Cold back on TV, at least in some capacity or another. I was one of the many people who was really sad to see him leave wrestling because of his health, and I'm glad to see him in something now where he seems comfortable, he seems to enjoy it, and quite frankly, I think he's good at it. You know, I think he could polish up his interview skills a little bit, but in general, his delivery is good. He's as entertaining as he ever was. And one thing that I really enjoy is that he doesn't lob softballs at people. He had Vince McMahon on a couple of weeks ago, and he shot straight with him. He asked him some serious and tough questions, and to his credit, Vince McMahon answered all of them as, honestly, as I felt he could have. The latest one on this past Monday night was with Triple H, and again, another home run hit, I think, for Steve Austin, as well as Triple H. It was nice to see those guys just kind of relax and sit down and talk about the business and, what's going on, what went on in the past. And I enjoyed it. All in all, I enjoyed it. Just two guys sitting around talking wrestling and, talking the business. And I could sit here either for another hour and talk about the whole thing, or I could do several shows about several things that they talked about, but I want to zero in on one thing that they talked about specifically, and I was glad they did because I've been waiting for someone to discuss this for a very long time. They talked about the death of Kayfabe in the wrestling industry. Now, for those of you that aren't in the know, Kayfabe was a term used in the business between the wrestlers meant to protect the business, and basically what that meant was if you're a good guy and this guy's a bad guy and you guys are in a feud, you don't get caught outside drinking beers after your match. You keep up the facade, you keep up the mystique, you keep up the story even when you're not in the ring, and that was meant to protect the business, to protect the characters, to protect the storylines, and to protect everyone as a whole. But let's face it, by the late 80s, early 90s, kayfabe was really starting to die, and I'd say by about 93, 94, it was on life support. That was around the time that I got into the business, maybe a little bit later, maybe it was like 95, 96 when I got into the business, and on the independent level, kayfabe was very much still alive, and that was one of the first things that the guy that taught us something said. He's like, here's kayfabe, this is what it is, you don't give away the business, period. And looking forward almost 20 years later, I look at it now, and I should make t-shirts. I'm of two minds of this. One, kayfabe was necessary for business survival because it did keep that mystique, it did keep people wondering, and it did keep people coming back to see. On the other hand, in this digital day and age, kayfabe is kind of insulting the non-average fan's intelligence, and the reason for that being everybody's wired in. Everybody knows, and it's not that they've tried to hide it. I was on a website the other day, and it says WWE's biggest secrets exposed, and they exposed stuff that, quite frankly, we've known for 30 years. You get these idiots that come up on these blog sites and YouTube videos. I'm bound to have one at some point. Oh, wrestling's fake, right? No shit, Sherlock. We got that memo 40 years ago, and we don't care. Seriously, we don't care. We're going to continue to watch it, and I'll talk about that in another episode. That's a subject for another day as to why hardcore fans keep watching. But like I said, on the independent circuit in the early to mid 90s, kayfabe was still very much alive. But on the WWE and even WCW to a lesser extent, they really weren't trying to insult people's intelligence. They knew that we knew, and they kind of just, okay, we have this relationship, we know, we're going to go with it and see how it goes. I got into a discussion with a guy on Facebook here a couple weeks ago, and we were discussing kayfabe and discussing exactly when and where and how it died. And he seemed to blame it on the infamous curtain call incident with Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Razor Ramon, and Diesel. And if you don't know what that is, Google it. I'm not going to sit here and discuss what the curtain call incident was. Most people already know. And he seemed to think, oh, that's the day kayfabe died. And I'm like, no, kayfabe didn't die that day. Kayfabe may have been on life support, but it was far from dead. And keep in mind, Triple H got buried for a year because of that incident. So in all honesty, the death of kayfabe came when the internet blew up. Everybody's in the know, everybody's posting what they know, and everybody's just dialed in, especially wrestling fans, man. Some of them are dialed in because they want to follow the guys they like on Twitter and Facebook. Some of them are dialed in because they got to know. You know, there's some people that just, okay, I'm watching this every day, but is it really real? And I got to know. I got to go find out. And to a degree, that's sad because you're kind of, it's almost like reading a book on the secrets of magic and kind of ruining that for you. And for that, I think the business has suffered a little bit because of the death of kayfabe, because I really think once people kind of looked at it and went, I know what it is. It's not real. Even though they know I know it's not real. It's not interesting me. So the mystique is gone. You know these guys really don't hate each other, and you're seeing them in the ring, and they're tearing each other apart in the ring, and then when they leave the ring, you know they're going to go back in the back and, hey, buddy, what's going on? You know, and they've even been as forthcoming with that on the WWE Network with some of these interviews, especially the Stone Cold podcast, you know, where they talk frankly about the business and where it's at these days. So I was really glad they talked about it, and, you know, I really wanted to talk about it, and I was kind of holding off a couple of days to see everybody's reaction to the podcast. What do you think? Do you think that the industry has been hurt by the death of kayfabe, or do you really think that it was time to let it go and, you know, quit insulting people's intelligence and let them know again, once again, that you know, we know, and we know you know? Anyway, I'm Tats Deej. I'm going to cut it short there. Thank you for watching. Again, follow me on Twitter, Tats Deej. Follow me on Tumblr, Tats Deej. If you like the video, share it with your friends. Get in on the discussion, man. I want to talk to you guys about it. And the discussion opens up new episodes. I'll see you next one.